we traced my lineage back. And so the wall that we hit was my fifth great grandfather that was born in 1792 in Essex County, Virginia. That because of him being born in 1792, this was before the Civil War. So this would mean that someone like myself would be eligible for lineage-based reparations. But it also means that my nieces and nephews who are also half white, that will also be eligible for it as well. Maybe prorated, but but they will also be eligible as well because they are also part of that lineage too.
Because as soon as we start saying you have to be black, now we're discriminatory to those that might not be black, right? Because you might have some of those cousins who ancestors didn't write that they were black. They might have wrote that they were white, but their lineage is not white, right? Because you have to go. These are constructs, which is why it defies them by not being discriminatory, by passing the strict scrutiny by going under American Negro. Because American Negro is a people in a country. So therefore, we're a people with a nation. So now we can claim reparations. Parts come in. That means that under reparations, we can't disparage like they were. Because then you fall into the discrimination factors, which bring up lawsuits. If you want to keep out of lawsuits, you have to pass the bar of strict scrutiny. And the American Negro passes that bar with flying colors, because you could be a half Negro, quarter Negro, full Negro. Long as your ancestors came from that atrocity, it don't matter what you are today. Long as that bloodline ties from you to there, you're good. On your matrilineage of your mom or your patrilineage of your father as well.
Why not use the word freedman instead of Negro? I'm just trying to figure out as to why instead of using Negro, we don't use the word freedman.
Yeah, that's a great question. When you're talking about freedman, so under Black's law, freedman, it says in Roman law, it means one who has been set free from slavery. But in America, it's respecting the Negroes. So even if you say freedman, you're falling into the form of saying in America, it respects the Negroes. So we look at freedman as a transition from enslaved to free. Then from freedmen, we are the American. So we're not just freedmen. We are actually American. Freedman was a status to denote that we had came from chattel slave to free. We were no longer enslaved. But now that we're American and slavery is outlawed, there's no need to say I'm a freedman because I'm an American. No American can be held under slavery or bondage except either they be convicted and tried by a jury to become a criminal, and then you can hold them under slavery. You only can be a slave in America legally if you're a criminal. Outside of that, you can't be a slave. Therefore, you ain't a freedman. You either are a certain American that has that lineage from slavery or you're not. So this is why Obama is an African American. Obama is a Black American, but Obama is not a Negro American or American Negro. Even those words that were true from when Senator Harry Reid told him in the halls of Congress. He said, you're a light-skinned African American who lacks Negro dialect, meaning that you look black, but you ain't a Negro. You don't even talk like that. Because as Negroes, we have our own language. It's called Ebonics. We have our own culture. It's called American Negro culture. As we have our own sports, it's called the Negro Leagues. We have our own songs from slavery. It's not called the Freedmen songs. It's called the Negro spirituals. So in understanding how history we were categorized and cataloged, it's very important to know that I'm a free American Negro now. I'm not a freed man because my ancestors didn't come from slavery from my mama and them. Now, my great-great-great-great-grandparents were freedmen, but I'm a descendant of freedmen, as Dr. Darity would say, not a freedman alone. See, I would be a descendant of that. Whereas I'm an American Negro enslaved and see, because when I was enslaved, you sold me as a Negro. When I became free, I got my freedom as a Negro. The process upon which enslavement to freedom is called freedman. That status of from slave to free is called freedman. My ancestors were freedmen. I'm a descendant of freedmen, but I am today an American Negro, if that makes sense.
My brother, let me throw a little bit of water on there. Freedmen is us. That is all us. Black American, freedmen, but that all denotes from Negro. They said every Negro may be a Black American, but not every Black American can be a Negro. That is to say, you can be black skin, melanated in color, but that doesn't make you a Negro. Yeah, that it's a bloodline. It's an
Yeah,
ethnicity.
that court case was called People versus Hall, and I want to say it was 1863 from the California State Supreme Court, where it was said that there's a wide difference between the two. A Negro may be a black person, but not every black person is a Negro. So when we
Mm.
say Negro in the eyes of the law, it didn't matter whether we were enslaved or free, because as Negroes, we're of that bloodline. This is why when you look up freedmen again in Black's Law Dictionary, when you're talking about freedmen, and it comes from Rome. But in America, it's respecting Negroes, as it's in the definition. So to say that I'm a Negro, it encompasses that already. You're just talking about a specific period from when I was an enslaved Negro to when I became a free Negro. That process and the status of it is called freedman. But today, I am an American Negro. This is why so many people, when you look up freedmen, you see the indigenous people are freedmen. They still have a freedman's. They still identify as those people who were once enslaved by indigenous territories. Those people were called freedmen, and now they're called freedmen back into those indigenous tribes that they come from. You have a lot of people who, under the term and classifications, and this is things that Dr. Darity has spoken on as well. When you incorporate freedmen, it does not speak to specific lineage, which may include non-Negro white people. But when you say Negroes, you're speaking about a lineage of people who specifically came out of slavery, who have paperwork that ties them directly to that slavery, directly to the American Negro atrocities, and all the way to now. We were only changed in 1960. Prior to that, our Universal United Negro College Fund, Negro Bankers, the first NBA was the Negro Bankers Association, the Negro Leagues for our sports, our Negro United National Council of Negro Women, which is still up today as our governing body of women who are in politics or in government that are Negro women. They are still known as Negro organizations today that are actually for Negro people. So it's very important and vital that our name, even the Negro League's history, I think the president said when Joseph Biden, Sleepy Joe, was saying, that great American Negro, great Satchel Paige, the media, who was always trying to erase Negro, was the ones trying to condemn Joe Biden, saying that he used a term that's outdated. But actually, the president and executive director for the Hall of Fame at the Negro Museum said that it would have been no better word for Joe Biden to have used describing Satchel Paige, because that word allows others in the history books to know this ain't just a black man. This is an American Negro man. This ain't just a black athlete. This is a Negro athlete. And I think as a descendant of a Negro, one who is very proud and open and let everyone know that I'm not just a black man, I'm an American Negro man. That is something to that. And it is a power and a pride to that. That's something that I think people wanted us to kind of get away from, because it almost was fraternal in its own objections. But the word Negro is not an adjective, it's a noun. And that's very important to understand. And that can be found in the Noah Webster's Dictionary on American